Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
The Sixers execute, and they beat the Detroit Pistons in their arena. What is it, the Little Caesars Arena or something like that? They did what they needed to do. Now, when I saw this game on the schedule, it scared me. It concerned me. Not because the Detroit Pistons are some powerhouse, but because it's in between the Washington Wizards and the Milwaukee Bucks on Christmas at the Wells Fargo Center. When the Sixers beat the Wizards, I was just thinking it was a possibility to look over this Pistons team because you know how emotional the Bucks game is. You know how meaningful it is because it's the top team in the East. It's a team that the Sixers are going to want to face in the postseason, which means they would be making a legit run. So, of course, they want to face the Milwaukee Bucks when it matters most. But I didn't know if emotionally or mentally they would just pass by this game. They didn't. They did what they needed to do. Tobias Harris was absolutely a leader in this one, scoring 35 points, even getting into a nice tilt with Blake Griffin. And if you remember, Tobias Harris and Blake Griffin were involved in the same exact trade when the Clippers and the Detroit Pistons moved some guys along. So there is some history there, and it obviously helped Tobias Harris's case to drop 35 points and to be a legit beast. While on the other side, Blake Griffin scored 8 points and only made 2 of 14 buckets. So it was clear that Blake Griffin was frustrated, annoyed, bothered, and that's why he tried to spark a little something physically, but Tobias had none of that. Come on, Blake. You figure it out, all right? Figure out your own game. Don't worry about the Sixers. We get it. You're frustrated. Kick rocks. Go to the bench. Leave me alone. Unbelievable. Before we talk more about this, we got to hear a word from our sponsors. SeatGeek. I can save you money. If you use the promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page, you get $20 off of your total purchase. So it's a no-brainer to get free parking, to get free beer or free food. Just use the promo code BROADS today when buying tickets at SeatGeek. So no Matisse Thybulle in this game, which opened the door for Furkan Korkmaz, and that'll be exciting to talk about later on in this. But speaking about Matisse Thybulle first, it hurts. It hurts this team. This is a kid who clearly is an emotional guy for this team. The players love his energy. The building at home loves his energy. He provides such a spark. He's tremendous defensively. He can even shoot the three ball as well. There's no denying that every time Matisse Thybulle is on the floor, he impacts the game. He's smooth. He's aggressive. He puts his hands in the lane. He recovers. He's annoying to play against. He is a problem when he comes off the bench for the opposing team. The other team struggles when he's on the floor and when he's guarding for a reason because he is a very active player. Well, losing him for a few weeks until we find out further stuff about his injury, it hurts. It hurts. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to get back on the court, but it opens the doors for other players. And I know, everyone's waiting to hear my opinion on Furkan Korkmaz's game because he was explosive off the bench. But I'm going to make you wait because there are other players that mattered more in this one. And I want to talk more about Tobias Harris. He knocked down 4 threes. He shot 14 of 21. What I loved about him was his aggressiveness. We always talk about how an aggressive Ben Simmons is the best Ben Simmons, and Ben had a triple-double, set a career high in assists. He was remarkable. But Tobias Harris was so aggressive. He was willing to score in so many different ways. The long ball, out of the post, the mid-range game, off the dribble. He was effective, and whenever the Pistons seemed to make a little bit of noise and make a little bit of run, bang, there was Tobias Harris to stop the bleeding. There was Tobias Harris to make some noise. There was Tobias Harris to put the team on his back, and he showed that he was a real leader. It's so funny. He'll have a really bad game where he scored 7 points. I can't believe we overpaid him. He stinks. And then he has a good game like this. I would say for the most part, over the last 2-3 weeks, Tobias Harris has really put together a strong case for that contract because he's been the go-to guy. He's been scoring in so many different ways. Tobias Harris has definitely been okay when it comes to that contract for the last 3 weeks. I mean, if he plays like that, if he continues to be this type of player, there's no problem with paying him the money that the Sixers did. He was a big reason why the squad won today. And it's not just about this game. It's about moving forward. It's about being the guy and understanding his role and taking over that role. I even spoke about this before when it comes down to late game situations, just because of how easy it seems to double Joel Embiid and to get into Joel Embiid's face and for him to turn the ball over late in fourth quarters. I want it to be Tobias. I want Tobias to have the ball in his hands late in the game, to make the shot, to be it. That's who I'm pulling for, because I have the most trust in him down the stretch in fourth quarters for the most part. More than Ben Simmons having the ball in his hands, and more than Embiid when he's getting double-teamed in the post, depending on the matchup, of course, and depending on the game. If Embiid has 46 points and it's coming down in the fourth quarter, of course I want him in the game. There has to be context involved, but I don't think it's ridiculous to think that Tobias Harris can step into that role as well. Ben Simmons, just so successful in this one. 17 assists, as I stated, 16 points, 13 rebounds. Wow. Magnificent. That's the way to describe it. He was magnificent. He created a ton of spark. He created energy. He gave good looks to his teammates. Facilitating is a big part of his game. We all see it. He leaves his feet and makes passes. And come on, I can't be chirping him like that, right? I can't be doing that in this type of game. He was great. I mean, he was great. Absolutely. He really was. There's no one on the other end to really stop him. The Detroit Pistons stink for a reason, but he was really solid. And that is the same thing for Tobias Harris, and it's the same thing for Furkan Korkmaz. There's really no one to stop these players on the opposing squad, so that plays a role in this, absolutely, but I'm not going to knock them for playing very well. I thought Ben Simmons played very well. He was able to destroy guys when they were trying to defend him man-to-man. You didn't really see the obnoxious 2-3 zones thrown at them like the Mavericks and the other teams did. Nowhere near that type of struggle when it comes to the Sixers offense. I mean, they scored over, 120 points. I think they finished with 125 points was the final, so they were able to score. They were able to execute. No zone stopping them in this one, and Ben Simmons thrived because of that. Corky, 22 minutes, 21 points, an electric third quarter, shot the ball from three. Made some big shots. He even had a layup where he made a nice move, made the layup and totally like twisted it in and rolled it in off the backboard. And he does the Sully after, like looks at the hand, looks at the hand. Now listen, I mean, he made his shots. He made the most of his opportunity. This is where I have a problem. See, bros, I told you he could do it. I told you he could be effective and be a guy. There's always going to be a game for players. It's about, are they really that player? If Furkan Korkmaz does this one every 15 games, well, I'm sorry. That's not good enough, right? I mean, I'm just being realistic, and that's not just him. That's any player in the NBA. If you scored 20, what did he finish with? 21 points in his 22 minutes. If he does that once every 10 to 15 games, that's not going to cut it. In this one, it worked. It was tremendous. He was a player that totally helped this team. He made shots. He made plays. Did some things with his hands defensively. Right? He brought it. Matisse Thybulle out. Korkmaz, more minutes, and he made the most of his opportunity. Can he do that against Milwaukee? Can he do that against good teams? We will see. And I'm keeping it 100 here, because with Ben Simmons, after the performances we've seen against some of the good teams in this league, I didn't give him benefit of the doubt when he destroyed bad squads. This one, okay, yeah, I thought he was really great, because this is like insane, right? This is a really good game. But there's plenty of times where he plays a bad team, and I say, that's great, Ben, but I don't care, because I want more. I want you to do this against a good team. I want you to develop. I want you to take jump shots. So I'm not just ripping Furkan Korkmaz. I will do this with Ben Simmons. I will do this with other players on the team. But in terms of Corky in this one, good game. Can he actually do this, though? Or is this just a one-hit wonder? After 10, 15 games, one of these games will happen. Because that's the way it has been so far this season. he gives you one of these, but it doesn't mean anything to me unless he can really do it. Really do it against good teams. Put it together consistently. So there's that. The Sixers absolutely dominated the glass. 17 offensive rebounds. Rebounded them as a whole by 18. The matchup was definitely in favor of the Sixers, and I think everybody knew that going into this. And speaking of matchups, Andre Drummond and Joel Embiid, that's always a fun tussle. That's always a nice battle. Embiid normally dominates. Now, he was questionable before the game even started with a sickness, I believe. He ended up playing. He was -7, scored 20 points, only took, 9 field goal attempts, and only went to the line 6 times. I wouldn't say the best game I've ever seen out of Joel Embiid. When you look at Andre Drummond on the other side, for him to have 27 points, he was effective. I don't think Joel Embiid had his strongest game in this one. Maybe him being questionable had something to do with it. Joel has been weird for me this year. And it all dates back to that big game against Boston, 38 points. It hasn't been consistent enough. The domination hasn't been consistent enough. I just expected more from him coming into the season. And that's not just basing it off of this game. That's as a whole with where we are right now. But I will say this. Us as fans, we look over these wins all the time. Like, the Sixers win these games, and they're supposed to win these games, so I get it. I think it's fair and justified to skip over these games at times. But if they win these games, right, in the regular season, it's such a weird spot. So what I'm pretty much trying to get at here is, for example, the Sixers win 13 of 15 games, then they go on a 3-game losing skid where it looks ugly. The fans don't give them any credit for going 13 and 15 because they're supposed to. That's what they do. They're supposed to cream all those teams. Oh, but they lose 3 in a row. They look abysmal. They're horrible. They're atrocious. They stink. I don't think it's totally fair with the way we react as a whole. There are times where, it's okay, you beat the Pistons, or okay, you do this. But they put good stretches together, and then they lose 2 or 3 games, and the sky is falling, the team is an embarrassment, they're never going to do anything. It's just one extreme to the next, in my opinion, at times. It is fair to not be so pumped if they beat a really bad team in this league, but I still think we need to step back and look at what they're doing. 22-10. 22-10. I thought Al Horford looked okay at times defensively, better than what we have seen over the last few games when it comes to moving. When it comes to being able to move that older body and get aggressive defensively. I liked what I saw out of Al Horford. And Josh Richardson continues to have to find himself. He's just struggling to find his identity at times. And it's weird because he has it some nights, and other nights he looks a little lost, and he's just struggling to really figure it out. The injury killed him. Missing time absolutely killed him. It's a shame. Now, when you look at turnovers, only 12 and 33 assists. That's a fantastic ratio. They were moving the ball well, and they were keeping it in possession for them. They weren't turning it over 20 plus times. So to have 33 assists and to follow that up with 12 turnovers, only 12 turnovers, that's a really good job of moving the basketball around but keeping it in possession of the team. You got to love to see that because we all know that this team has plenty, and I mean plenty, of turnover problems. I want to talk about one thing, though, that happened at the game against the Wizards, and it was when the fan got kicked out. It bothers me a little bit, and here's why. If you are a season ticket holder, you sell your tickets. You use plenty of platforms, SeatGeek, StubHub, right? I mean, there's so many of them. The NBA and the Sixers specifically, the Sixers sponsor StubHub. It's on their jerseys. They promote it all the time. If this individual who owned the season tickets, no, I guess I'll backtrack here and tell the full story. There was a fan who was sitting close to the court who started freaking out at Isaiah Thomas, apparently giving him the finger, screaming bad words at him because during the free throws he was trying to win the Frosty. Because if Isaiah Thomas goes over 2 from the line in the second half of the game, the whole Wells Fargo Center gets a free Frosty from Wendy's. Well, the fan got suspended for a year, which is fine. He gets suspended. That's totally acceptable. I think that's a fair punishment. The season ticket holder who sold these people the tickets lost their season tickets. They're done. Done. See you later. If this individual who sold the tickets sold them online using StubHub, which the Sixers promote, by the way, that's so unbelievable. That's so pathetic. That's embarrassing. You can't just hold everyone accountable who owns the seats. You can't hold them accountable to who they sell these tickets to. Especially if they are using a product the Sixers have on their jerseys that they are promoting and that are part of a sponsorship. It's not fair because with how tickets are sold these days, you put them up online and anyone can buy them. That's not the season ticket holder's fault. If it was the season ticket holder who specifically did it, I think that could be a different conversation. Still a little bit harsh in my opinion, but it is what it is. But for the season ticket holder to sell those tickets on a platform where anyone can buy them online, I can't see how that is fair whatsoever. Don't tell me life isn't fair. Don't tell me they had to do it. They didn't have to do it. They promote StubHub. They promote these online ticket sources where people are supposed to use that platform to sell tickets to people they don't know all the time. I mean, the Sixers are telling people to do this. So if that person uses that product to do it, and that person then does something terrible, you destroy the season ticket holder for making that transaction? Now, at this very moment, I don't know if he used that platform or not, if he knows that person or not. From my understanding, he doesn't know that person or whoever owns the season tickets, him or her, or the family. I don't know if they know him or not. But there is a major flaw with what the Sixers did and how they handled it. Way too harsh, obnoxiously harsh. I don't know how that really does anything. It does. There's no positive because it's not as if those season ticket holders are the one flipping the bird to people. That fired me up when I saw that. That really pissed me off. It irritated me because I don't get their thought process. I don't understand how it can even go to that degree. Well, you own those seats, so you are obligated to fill those seats with people who are respectful. That's such crap. And guess what? You know how many people scream the F-bomb at pro athletes? That's the nature of the beast. That's what happens. So that happens maybe 10,000 times a game, 15,000 times a game. So should the whole entire arena get kicked out and suspended and then all of the season ticket holders get their tickets taken away too? Just because Isaiah Thomas went up to that person, now it's different? I mean, he flipped them off and said, some F words, you're going to miss your free throws. There was nothing crossing the line. It was nothing that went way too personal. It just hit the level of a standard person sitting near a court saying, hey, F you stink, you're horrible. Come on. That happens so much. That happens all the time. That's what it is. That happens everywhere. That happens in any sport. So just because Isaiah Thomas went up to a person, now it changes what happens? Now it changes the outcome? Like, in what world is Isaiah Thomas allowed to walk up to a dude? I could sense that he was a little disappointed maybe in himself too afterwards. Because, Isaiah Thomas let the emotions get the best of him. He went into the stands. That's a joke, in my opinion. So I think the Sixers did a poor job with this one. I don't like the way they handled it at all. I don't think it was right to take away the season ticket holder's tickets if he sold the tickets to someone he doesn't know. It's not his fault. Millions of people do this all the time. That's what you do with season tickets. You can't make 42 home games in every playoff game. You sell them to people you know, to people you don't know. You use StubHub. You look at the team sponsor and you use that platform, and you're going to punish people if that is the case. Joke. But anyway, let's move on. The Milwaukee Bucks are in town next. There's no denying this is the big one. There's no denying there's going to be a ton of energy. Let's see what Ben Simmons does. Let's see what Joel Embiid does. Let's see what Tobias Harris does. Let's see how the Sixers and Brett Brown elect to try and stop the Greek Freak. Now, it's not easy. Teams don't do it. There's a reason why teams don't do it, because it's very difficult to do. But it's going to be a test for this team. Can they beat another good team at home? They've beaten good teams, all right? I know this team is frustrating at times. It's not very fun, but they've beaten good teams at home. They've beaten the Denver Nuggets. They've beaten the Toronto Raptors. They've beaten the Boston Celtics home and away. They have good wins under their belt. They beat the Miami Heat at home. They did lose too, but they beat them at home. So I get it. The team isn't always enjoyable. It's not beautiful basketball. But here's a test. Here's a test. The Milwaukee Bucks on Christmas Day. There can't be much more excitement than this if you're a player. All right, it just can't happen. So we'll see how Brett Brown elects to do this. We'll see if the Greek Freak and the Milwaukee Bucks throw zones at the Sixers, which I would assume they would, but we'll see. Let me know your thoughts down below on this Detroit Pistons game, on the Matisse Thybulle situation, Furkan Korkmaz, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, whatever you'd like. I want to know your thoughts on the season ticket holder thing too as well, because very controversial, but I absolutely hate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.